Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tanisha, also known as ERNurse86 over on Twitter, and in today's video I'm going to be doing my first Q&A as suggested by my friend Saya. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first question says, when did you realize you wanted to be in the medical field? Was it a path chosen ambitiously, or did it feel like a necessity? By the way, we're grateful every day to you for coping. And this is from Cindy. Well, I decided that I wanted to go into medicine. Oh gosh, I think I was probably like 9 or 10. I remember I used to sit up and watch the Learning Channel back when it was actually like medical stuff on TLC, and I was completely fascinated with the surgical procedures that they would do. And I think there was a show that used to come on there called Trauma Life in the ER, and I just knew that I wanted to do something in medicine, like really early on. As for nursing, I decided that I wanted to be a nurse probably back in 2009 is when I decided that I wanted to become a nurse. And before that, I thought I wanted to go to medical school. I thought I wanted to be an OBGYN, but I decided finally on nursing, and things kind of got a little sidelined because in 2009, that's when I realized that I was pregnant with my now 10-year-old daughter. So had to hit pause on school, but I did eventually go back, and I got my bachelor's degree in nursing back in 2016. And for the last 3.5 years now, almost 4, I have been a nurse working in the emergency department. Let's see. The next question is from Elizabeth, and it says, if you could talk to the problematic influencers and give them advice, what would you say? There's so many problematic influencers out there. I think maybe some general advice would be the best. And the best piece of advice that I can give these problematic influencers is stop making excuses when you make a mistake. If you screw something up, own that. Apologize to the people that you've offended. Stop centering yourself when you're making these apologies, and actually make a change in your behavior moving forward. Let's see. The next question is from Aaron's Logic, and his question is, what stops you from losing it with a patient that has been rude or racist towards you? Because I don't have that patience. So like I've shared with you guys both on Twitter, and I think I've talked about a little bit on my channel as well, I have had several incidents with patients being either grossly sexual in inappropriate ways, or saying things that were extremely racist and misogynistic and disgusting. And it's not always easy to maintain my composure. I mean, I'm human. Sometimes what they say does affect me and it upsets me, but like my favorite charge nurse always says, is 12 hours, and I'm gonna get to go home at the end of that 12 hours to my family. So I just try and, you know, turn the other cheek. If it gets to be a little bit too much for me to handle, I can always get the charge nurse involved if necessary. If the patient is being violent, we have hospital security that is there, and if necessary, we can call the police if they're threatening to assault me. So usually I just walk away. I say usually because, like I said before, I'm human, and so sometimes I do respond back. But I always try and maintain my level of professionalism, because I'm there to help people. I'm not there to get into fights. So the next question is from Carry On Micro. And the question is, do you like sitcoms? If so, what's your favorite? Getting straight in there with a hard hitter. So I don't know that I necessarily have a favorite sitcom right now. I've more so been watching anime and either medical or crime dramas lately. But if I had to choose one, I think it'd be a tie between American Dad and Family Guy. I think I've seen every episode of both shows at least 3-4 times. And yeah, I think I'd say those two. Let's see. The next question is from Saya, and it says, what's the best advice you've ever received? So the best advice I've ever received actually came from my mom, and she gave me this piece of advice when I was first deciding that I wanted to go back and finish school. At the time, I feel like I was probably going through a bit of a quarter-life crisis. A lot of the people that I had gone to school with had already graduated and gotten their degrees and moved on into their professional lives. Some of them doctors, some of them lawyers, some of them nurses like myself. And at the time, I was still working an hourly job. I think I was a server still at that point. And I just felt really down. I kind of was beating myself up about it because I felt like I had let down not only my family, but let myself down by not finishing school when I went to college straight out of high school. But the reality of it was I was not mature enough to be going off to college, like away from home. I didn't have the right mindset. I wasn't serious enough about school, not as serious as I should have been. And my mom told me that as long as you never give up on yourself, there's always hope. So that's always stuck with me since then. And I really appreciate my mom for saying that. It was just the piece of advice that I needed to push forward and go ahead and finish up my degree. Let's see. The next question is from Board One Love, and it says, do you find your nursing career rewarding or just a means to an end? So, like I mentioned before, I knew from a very early age that I wanted to go into medicine. I didn't really go into nursing just like to make money. I went into nursing because I wanted to help people and make a difference in their lives. And what solidified that decision for me was my hospital experience when I gave birth to my now 10-year-old daughter, and seeing how much the nurses actually were doing in the hospital setting. Like the majority of your hospital stay, you're going to be spending a lot more face-to-face time with the nursing staff than you do with the doctors, who you might see for maybe 10-15 minutes once a day if you're lucky, like if they're out making rounds. So for me, I could see that the nurses had the biggest impact on me as a patient, and that's what I wanted to be able to give to other people. So no, for me, it's not just a means to an end. It's something that I'm very passionate about. I feel a lot of joy seeing that I am able to help people and make a positive change in their life. It gives me a lot of satisfaction knowing that I can educate people. So it's very rewarding for me. I honestly don't see myself in any other career field. I just feel like this is my calling. Let's see. The next question is from Chelsea Mooner, and the question is favorite pizza toppings. So, gosh, this is probably gonna sound weird, but my favorite pizza toppings are actually ground beef and bacon, like together, and usually I order it from Domino's. but I'm not opposed to pineapple. And in my opinion, pineapple definitely goes on pizza. I'm sorry, I'll probably get a lot of hate for that, but I like pineapple. Let's see. The next question is from Allegedly Angelo. And the question is, last movie you saw and your thoughts on it. So the last movie that I saw was a Spanish language film on Netflix called Twin Murders, Silence of the White City. And the plot was just it was so convoluted. Like, I feel like the writers were inspired by Silence of the Lambs, because it gave me very much that type of like, you have your detective who was consulting with a convicted serial killer on how to catch a new serial killer. So it just seemed like it was definitely came from that film. They just didn't do the original any justification. And I wouldn't even say necessarily that it was a remake, because it wasn't, but it felt like they were kind of wanting to make a film in that same vein, and they really just missed the mark. Some of the plots did make sense. There were a lot of plot holes, and just I wasn't a huge fan of that film. Let's see. The next question is from Just Naddle, and she's asking, do you have any real life friends that sometimes spread conspiracies and misinformation about COVID? If so, how does that affect you? Thankfully, no. I don't have any friends or family members who are spreading conspiracy theories and misinformation about COVID. A lot of my friends outside of like nursing and my family members who don't work in the medical field have come to me and asked me questions about quarantine and just different precautions that they can take for COVID. And thankfully, the people that are closest to me are taking the virus seriously and are doing what they can to protect themselves and their loved ones. Now, I have had patients, on the other hand, who have had some interesting ideas about the coronavirus, and I've just done my best to educate them on what we know and what we don't know. And I mean, that's really all you can do. Let's see. The next question is from Kitty MUA, and she's asking, what made you want to become a nurse? How is being a nurse during this pandemic? So I already answered the question about what made me become a nurse, but the second question, how is it being a nurse during the pandemic? In the first few months, it was very stressful. There were several nights or days, because I work night shift, that I would get off and come home and I would just cry because I was stressed out and absolutely terrified of bringing home this virus that we still don't have that much information about it, but now we know a lot more than we did 3-4 months ago. And back when it first started, I was terrified that I would bring it home to my kids. I mean, I've got 2 small children and 2 older girls, and one of my daughters has pretty severe asthma, so that would make her pretty at risk, pretty high risk, if she were to contract COVID. So I had a lot of concerns for my kids, so it just made me more cautious. Not that I wasn't already cautious at work, but I make sure that I wear all the PPE that is suggested for the situation. And obviously we are doing continuous masking at the hospital, meaning that we are wearing at least a surgical mask for the entire 12 hours of the shift. If I am working with a patient that we either suspect or have confirmed is COVID positive, I'm wearing full PPE getup. I'm wearing a gown, a mask, gloves, hairnet, and a respirator. So yeah, I am maintaining. My stress level has come down, but things at the hospital are getting a little bit hectic because they initially tried to open things back up a little bit too soon, in my opinion, and we saw a bit of a surge in the number of positive COVID-19 cases, and the hospital got really full for a while. We seem to have a handle on things for the moment, but I'm a little apprehensive about what the future might bring. So hopefully now that we've like rolled things back a little bit and are enforcing wearing masks when out in public, we'll see the cases start to kind of come back down some, but only time will tell. Let's see. The next question from Kitty MUA is, who's your favorite member of One Direction? Now I'm 33 years old, almost 34, and I feel like I was a little bit too old to really get into One Direction like that. Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, O-Town, 98 Degrees, that was a little bit more my speed. But if I had to choose a favorite member of the group, I would say Zayn. I just think he's really talented. Not that all the guys are not talented. I mean, they all have amazing voices, but there's just something special about him that makes him stand out to me. I think it's he's just got this charisma to him. Let's see. Let me see. I'm scrolling through the questions here on my laptop. So let's see. Okay, the next question is from Coco the Koala. And the question is, what are your thoughts on white creators monetizing videos talking about racism or Black Lives Matter? Is it justifiable because it is their job, or is it insensitive to profit off these topics? Oh gosh, that's a little complicated. So I'll just say this. I appreciate any and all white and non-black content creators that are educating themselves on Black Lives Matter and these other social justice issues and are sharing that knowledge with their audience. That, in my opinion, is how you show solidarity with the Black community. That is good allyship to me, is educating your followers. So I don't necessarily care that people who are trying to do the right thing are monetizing their videos, but if somebody like, I don't know, Tana Mojo or Jeffree Star, for example, or hell, even Trisha Paytas, if somebody like that who does not sincerely care about the movement decided to make a monetized video about it, that would bother me, because they're pandering. It's very performative, and for me it would feel like they're just in it to try and make a quick buck. Let's see. Let me move on to some more questions. Sorry, I gotta scroll through here and find them. Let me go back. Okay, there's one last question here from Lunar Beauty Co. And it's a bit of a repeat question, but the question is, when did you know you wanted to be a nurse? Is there any other job you wish you had pursued when you have the chance? So, like I said before, nursing, this is it for me. If anything, I might decide to go back at some point and pursue a master's degree or even a doctorate in nursing practice to become a nurse practitioner. But this is where I see myself. Now, as something maybe to do on the side, I have put a lot of thought into going to culinary art school, because cooking is something that I really enjoy doing. But I don't necessarily see that being like a primary career for me, but something that I would do in addition to nursing. That is it for all the questions for today's Q&A. If you guys missed out on those tweets and you have any questions that you'd like for me to answer, please leave those down below in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you like, and if you haven't already done so, subscribe to my channel. As always, I appreciate you guys and your support so much. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.